Redfall and Starfield are sounding better and better the more information that we get about them. So two of the biggest games that are going to be coming out from Xbox Game Studios, and particularly Bethesda Game Studios in 2023, are going to be Redfall and Starfield. We've already seen some rumors that Redfall is going to be coming out around May, and Starfield apparently coming out before the end of June. So we don't know exactly when that's going to be. It'll be interesting if one comes out in May and one comes out in June, but I don't know if they'd want to release both huge hitters 1 month after the other. So maybe Starfield's going to come out even sooner than we expect. But particularly when it comes to Redfall, we've seen lots of trailers of it already. We've seen gameplay. It looks really, really good. But one of the main things that people thought about Redfall when they first showed it off at the Xbox and Bethesda showcase way back at the end of the show as the big new IP coming from Xbox and from Bethesda and going to be exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem, was people thought this was going to be just another Left 4 Dead clone. And to be quite honest, a lot of people were kind of turned off by that. But as more information came out, we fully have the confirmation that this is not a Left 4 Dead style of game, but you could see why people thought that from that initial trailer. And we got another interview here from Arcane with Games Radar, and they give us more information on what we should be comparing this game to. And honestly, from what they are saying and what we know now, I'm even more excited for Redfall. So here's an interview, like I said, between Games Radar and Arcane's Harvey Smith and Ricardo Barron. There's tons of information in this interview going over the setting, the fact that they really stretched themselves with this game. They decided to make this not only a cooperative game, but also an open world game, putting those two together. And they think that if it all comes together the way that they see it in terms of the quality, it's going to be something really, really good. And again, from what we've seen from the gameplay trailers, it's looking that way. But one of the biggest things that I think a lot of people are going to be happy to hear, and also just good information for this game, is they compare this game not to Left 4 Dead, but to Far Cry. So specifically, here is what Ricardo Bear says. It's totally understandable for somebody to come to that conclusion. There are 4 playable characters. You can play together cooperatively, and you're going against the undead. And that's him referring to the fact that people compared the game to Left 4 Dead, but then continues here and says, but in terms of the way you play and experience Redfall, it's not like those games at all. Redfall is more like loading into Far Cry. And then they continue on to talk about what exactly that means. I mean, it's a big open world. They actually say specifically it's a big ass open world. We continue here saying we have a home base where you can talk to NPCs and get side quests. You can go to the mission table and pick up story-driven missions, or you can not give a shit about any of that and just head outside, pick a direction, start hauling ass, and run into the living world stuff that we have going on. So really cool. I mean, I'm actually extremely happy to hear about that. Now, we already heard rumblings and information that this game wasn't like Left 4 Dead at all. It was that cooperative shooter where you have different abilities and you got to figure out ways to take out enemies, and you're gonna have to be strategic going on your missions. With that alone sounds really fun. But I actually love the Far Cry series. I mean, Far Cry itself, the open world, the exploration, the ability to kind of do whatever you want, blow stuff up, and just have fun in that open world if you don't want to go on the missions right away, is some of the best parts of Far Cry. And we're going to be able to now do these types of things. It's exactly what it sounds like from what they're saying with Redfall. Go out, explore the world, and a world that we know Arcane is building, which is probably going to be really interesting and actually very deep. Now, it's probably not going to be the biggest open world compared to games like Far Cry and to games like Assassin's Creed from Ubisoft. I mean, Ubisoft makes the largest open worlds, I would say, out of all the big open world games out there. And there's tons to do. Like if you've played Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I know a lot of people thought that game was bloated and there's just so much to do. I absolutely loved it, put in 100+ hours into it and played the DLC. There's just so much in that world that you can go and explore, and you're always running into things and finding things. So comparing it to Ubisoft, it may not be an exact one-to-one comparison specifically in terms of the size, but I think for a lot of people, the fact that it's going to be a smaller, more fleshed out and more focused open world is going to be a good thing. So I'm really excited for Redfall after hearing that. Just the fact that they are comparing it more to Far Cry than to Left 4 Dead. Can't wait for this game to come out. Now moving on to Starfield. Starfield is a huge release. It's going to be a generational game. I've talked about this multiple times on this channel about Starfield, that they have an opportunity here to be what Cyberpunk 2077 was supposed to be, and maybe even bigger, be again another Skyrim, which obviously is released from the same people, but they have that opportunity to be that generational game that people are playing for 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years, however long people are playing these massive RPGs, and just really being a cultural phenomenon, which Skyrim was. And Starfield wants to follow in those footsteps. That's why they delayed it. They don't want to risk not being that massive hit similar to what Skyrim was, and the delay is only going to give us a better product at the end. Now, we have some more information here from the XNC podcast and Cold Eastwood that playtesters are coming away with good impressions of Starfield. So again, this is coming from XNC podcast and Cold Eastwood, who claimed that people connected to people playing the playtesting of the game have said that they are actually coming away with a positive view, even some people who were going in with a pessimistic view, specifically saying here, Starfield playtesters are reportedly enjoying the upcoming Bethesda RPG, with even pessimistic folk alleging coming away with strong and good first impressions. In short, many seem to think that the Bethesda has nailed Starfield's scale, as well as its general size and ambition compared to Fallout. Specifically, the pipeline that he's gotten this information from alerted him previously of stuff about Cyberpunk's 2077's launch, which we know was an absolute debacle, but they did an incredible job at turning that thing around, especially with the numbers we are seeing now for Cyberpunk. So there is always redemption for games like these, because these are games that do become just so massive, such a cultural thing for a lot of people, a game that people have anticipated for years and years. Even though Cyberpunk had such a terrible launch, they somehow turned it around. But Starfield doesn't even want to go through that at all. But when it comes to the playtesters saying they've nailed the scope and size and everything of Starfield, I think that is going to be a huge thing. That is something that when they showed off Starfield gameplay, they talked about the 1,000 planets. It was the biggest debated thing after those trailers, after Todd Howard came out and talked about it, was people were upset. People were like, oh, this doesn't look good. They thought that there was going to be too much procedural generation with these planets, and there wasn't going to be that in-depth exploration on certain planets that would really have this great atmosphere and great setting that would draw you in to the overall game. And my opinion on this was I absolutely disagreed with that. I thought this 1,000 planets thing was a great thing, because obviously Bethesda is going to have their main planets that they have put all of their creative energies in, where you could spend hours and hours nonstop in those planets and meet characters in different areas and just really get immersed into those areas. And then there's going to be the exploration side of things, where you can go to different planets, find resources, probably be able to build up stuff on those planets, build mods, and people are going to put crazy mods within all of these different thousands of planets that you're going to be able to explore and run into. And that part of the game is going to be such a longevity thing for something that's going to keep it going, where there's always going to be something new to explore and to see. And it's not a mandatory thing to go out and explore the 1,000 planets. The fact that they're saying they've nailed the size and the scale and the scope tells me that my initial hunch of Starfield building out that initial game world where you're going to be lost in the main line and the side quests, right now sounding like they have done a good job. Lots of good information right now before these games have released, getting people more excited for them, and hopefully we will be seeing them in the next 6 months. Hopefully there isn't a further delay, but from everything we're seeing, everything we're hearing, it sounds like they are on track to be released very soon. That's it for me. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. If you're new here, you liked what you saw, consider hitting that subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for your support, and I'll catch you in the next video.
Bye.